What's up, Steeler Nation? This is Bishop Ball again, just coming to you with another fan reaction for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the upcoming draft. Just wanted to take a look at a couple of players that I've been hearing about that the Steelers may consider number 21st overall or actually doing the first round overall. Some of the picks I agree with. Some of them I don't think are very likely. Some of them are very surprising. So just to jump right into it, the first one that I want to talk about, and I kind of talked about it in the last video, so I'm not going to spend too much time, which a bit surprising, but I learned some information that's new concerning the playing skills of one Jackson Dart, the highly touted QB from the University of Mississippi, or Ole Miss. And so one of the things that I've been hearing about Jackson Dart, first of all, that the Steelers are very high on him. And that's evident because I think they invited him. He was one of their 30 visitors that are not in the state of Pennsylvania. He was one of the 30 visitors that came in. They talked to him then. They also showed up at his pro day as well. And I believe he went to dinner with Mike Tomlin, and they spoke to him at the combine. So that's very interesting. And I'm pretty sure he's big, he's strong. He has a strong arm. But I was listening to DK's Sports. And one of the knocks on Jackson Dart is he's a one-read quarterback, which means that usually, I think the percentages were 93%, his completion percent, success rate, when he is able to hit his initial first read. When he has to look off his first read, or when his first read is not there, whatever that play is, that his first read is not there, then his success rate or completion percentage jumps down to somewhere in there 40%, which is terrible. Another point that DK made is that no quarterback has ever succeeded, no first read quarterback has ever succeeded in the NFL. And so the Steelers have to be privy to this information. If they are giving high consideration to Jackson Dart, especially as a first round pick, when coming into the draft season, he wasn't even considered a third round pick, or he was considered to go in that third round, mid to late third rounds. So the information that the reporters are getting from NFL executives seem to be pointing towards him being a first round pick. And, for a guy that's a first read guy, learning to read defenses in the NFL, that's a project. I wouldn't take him there. And unless he learns to scan the field and go to his second and third options, he's not going to be very successful in the NFL. Also, he throws a good intermediate ball. He has good touch on his balls, but he's not considered a very good deep ball thrower, even though he does have a strong arm. He doesn't seem to have high pocket presence. And another thing about Jackson Dart is that he doesn't appear to be very clutch at games. He started out games pretty well and faded towards the end of the game in clutch situations, especially towards the end of the season when Ole Miss needed games, so he didn't perform well. So that's another concern of mine. So I'm hoping that they don't pick Jackson Dart in the first round. I wouldn't be mad if they picked him in the third round, but he's not my favorite pick. My favorite pick in the first round, regardless of who's available, would be Kenneth Grant from the University of Michigan, a 6'3", 340-pound monster. Can play over the nose, can play on the outside of the nose, over the guard. He's quick, he's agile, and for the man of that size, shouldn't be able to run that fast and move that agile. He's disruptive. He can get into the backfield quickly. A lot of times, the highlights that I've seen, plays that I've seen, he's just throwing offensive linemen to the side. He beats them to the side with his quickness. That's now keep in mind he's 6'3", 340 pounds. He would be a disruptive force. And what makes it so great is that he wouldn't necessarily have to come in right away and start. He can contribute and spell some of the defensive linemen that we have, or he could start if he takes over that position, but he doesn't have to be counted on to start. And so I'm greatly looking forward, to seeing if he's available. Now he may not be there at 21, so that might be something that might not be able to happen. But I would love to see Kenneth Grant in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform as a first round draft pick. So another player that I've been hearing a lot about lately, which is surprising to me, is Jalen Milroe. And I love Jalen Milroe's upside. I love his speed. I love his arm. I love his pocket presence. He's very good at manipulating the pocket. He's very good at the deep ball throw. And upon my interaction even before the combine, even before the end of the season, when I was on Bleacher Report, a lot of fans hated on Jalen Milroe. He can't play. He is terrible. And that's just not the case. He has a lot of work to do. His short to intermediate throws needs a lot of work. He doesn't have great touch on his passes, but he's not a first read guy. He actually can read defenses, even though he does need some improvement. But he's an excellent runner. He has great escapability. At the combine, he ran a 4.47, I believe, a 4.47. But at his pro day, he ran a 4.37. So, he has great speed. He's a burner, and he's big and strong. And the beautiful thing about Jalen Milroe as a project, he doesn't need to be the starting quarterback when he comes in. He can even play behind Mason Rudolph. And if we get Aaron Rodgers, if he decides to sign, then he can learn from Aaron Rodgers if Aaron Rodgers is willing to teach him. But he could just learn by watching. He's already been reportedly working on his accuracy. He's actually decently accurate, but he's working on his touch passes, his short yardage passes with a quarterback coach, Jordan Palmer, at this moment. So he's already working on getting better, working on becoming a better, more polished quarterback. And he can follow in the same footsteps as a Josh Allen, a Jalen Hurts, quarterbacks who came in not being able to throw well with touch passing and not being as accurate as they needed to be. And actually, Josh Allen was horrible as a first-year player, and he's the reigning league MVP now. So there used to be a notion that for quarterbacks that you couldn't come into the league and improve in accuracy, and that is determined to be a misnomer. And so the thing that is shocking to me is that Jalen Milroe's actually been invited to the NFL draft as a participant or as an attendant in the green room on the first night of the draft. So people may laugh at that because up until this point, nobody has projected Jalen Milroe to be a first round draft choice. He's been projected to be a late second, a third round choice. Some even was saying that he was going to drop to the fourth round because he needs development as far as his, short to intermediate passing, his touch throws and things of that nature. Some balls he just completely misses receivers, and then sometimes he's on target. His deep ball, he's actually one of the top deep ball throwers in the game, if not the best in college football. So, you know, if if the NFL is inviting Jalen Milroe to the green room, that means that they have information from teams, that there are teams that are considering picking Jalen Milroe in the first half of the draft. And it's because of his upside. Like, his floor is okay, but his upside, if this guy can develop and learn the nuances of the game and improve his short to intermediate throwing ability, the sky's the limit. You're talking Lamar Jackson. You're talking Jalen Hurts. You're talking an exceptional quarterback with exceptional speed and exceptional athletic ability. Now, will the Steelers pick him in the first round of the draft? Because the consensus is that the first four quarterbacks off the board are going to be Cam is going to be number one. He's slated to go to the Tennessee Titans. If somehow they decide to draft Travis Hunter, then he'll go next to the Cleveland Browns. Shedeur Sanders is sliding, but he's still projected to be the number 2 pick at quarterback in the NFL draft. He may not make it past the Saints. I don't see him being there at 21. If he's there at 21, hopefully Pittsburgh doesn't pick him, because I like Shedeur Sanders. I would rather them have Jalen Milroe than have Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders is a player that's going to come in and probably be expected to play now, especially if he gets drafted that high, and the hype that has surrounded him. The number 3 quarterback that's expected to be picked is Jason Dart. And, I'm hoping Pittsburgh doesn't take him. And then after that, if teams are talking about Jalen Milroe, if he's risen up the draft board that fast, then he's the next QB expected to be taken. Either him or Tyler Shough. And the knock on Tyler Shough is, first of all, he doesn't like to be hit, which is attributed to the multiple season-ending injuries that he's had. And the other thing that's a knock on him is that he's 26 years of age, and that he didn't play in a big conference. Now, my thing is that, after being injured so many times, you would be a little scared to be hit and reluctant to take big hits or lower your shoulder. So that's something that he is going to have to get over, but that's something that's understandable. But he's a tremendous quarterback. He's 26 years of age because he missed so much time. I'm pretty sure he lost some playing time and some years to those injuries. So if he had extra years of eligibility, then why not take advantage of that to improve your positioning as a player to be selected in the NFL draft, especially if that's your ultimate goal. And I'm pretty sure it was his ultimate goal because he has the talent, he has the desire. The desire is expressed, in my opinion, for a man to come back from multiple injuries in college and continue to play. Then another surprising, this is very surprising, reported by All Sports Talk, by Chat Sports. Caleb Johnson in the first round. That's extremely surprising to me. We live in an era where the importance of running backs have been minimized by not only the general public, but a lot of analysts, scouts, reporters, and for a myriad of reasons. One is the continual success of late round picks to produce. So that is minimize the importance of drafting running backs in the first 1 or 2 rounds of the draft or drafting them high. People say you can find a running back anywhere. Well, you can find any player anywhere. But because the running back position is probably one of the most easily transferable skill positions from college to the NFL, especially if the team that drafts that running back drafts them to fit the scheme that they're running, which is very important. You know, there are some running backs, the elite running backs, can play in any scheme. However, some running backs thrive behind blocking schemes or offenses that use them properly more than others. Maybe it's attributed to what they're used to, maybe it's attributed to their physical capabilities, but such as a Caleb Johnson, who is a first cut runner, is more suitable to a zone blocking scheme where the hole opens up and you have to hit that hole initially and run through it. So that's Caleb Johnson. And, if the Steelers decide to trade back, if they're trying to recoup an extra draft pick on day two, an extra day two draft pick, whether that be a second rounder, if possible, or a third rounder, or a fourth rounder. How far they will have to trade back is debatable, but it's a possibility. We don't know. They could trade back and draft somebody that they thought would fit their team. But Caleb Johnson was projected to be a second round pick, even a third round pick. Some draft analysts have projected him to be a second or third round pick. And honestly, he's probably my favorite running back. Now, when you're talking about speed, at the combine, he ran a 4.57, which is good speed. It's not blazing speed, but it's good speed, which is interesting because he's one of the few running backs that I have seen, big running backs. Let me emphasize big running backs, over 6 foot, over 215 pounds, that I have consistently seen on tape running away from defenders. I've rarely seen Caleb Johnson get caught from behind. Now, I saw somewhere, and it shocked me, that he ran a 4.4 at the Iowa Pro Day. I also saw some clips online that his timing at the combine was off. Something with the line and the finish line, and where they snapped the clock. I don't know how true that is, but his tape doesn't lie. He's always running away from defenders. And so, Najee Harris doesn't run a 4.5. Najee Harris doesn't run a 4.5. Now, I think Najee Harris runs a 4.7. He runs, to me, like Emmitt Smith, who doesn't have great speed. But Emmitt Smith broke a lot of big runs. So that says a lot about backs, and speed. There's a difference between track speed and football field speed. And having played football, I've seen a lot of players and been a player that have ran faster on the field when someone's chasing you than when you run track. Track speed is track speed. I would be interested in seeing if a lot of the track stars, some of the world's fastest men, would run faster with somebody chasing them or running away from somebody. So, there's no doubt that Caleb Johnson is fast and he's explosive and he's a one-cut runner, which fits perfectly in that zone blocking scheme that Arthur Smith is implementing with the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. But I don't know if Pittsburgh would consider trading back and drafting Caleb Johnson, a running back that may be there when if they can acquire a second round pick or another third round pick. That's the first time that I've ever heard anybody mention Caleb Johnson's name as a first round pick. But hey, depending what someone would be willing to give them to move up from, say, 28, 29 to 21, he could be a good pick. He could be a good pick, depending on what somebody would be willing to do to move up. And then, the next pick should be, a defensive tackle. However, people keep bringing up the fact that the Steelers need to pony up for next year's draft. And we have no idea who's going to be in that draft. With the NIL and the uncertainty of quarterbacks being good one year and not good the next, where's Carson Bennett? We expected Drew Aller to be in this draft. And so you never know. So, if the Steelers to get Aaron Rodgers, I don't think they necessarily need a quarterback this year or next year to run that offense. They can take a quarterback with a high upside. And if Jalen Milroe is getting invited to the NFL draft for the first night, will he be there in the second or third round to pick? That's going to be interesting, because why would they bring him there to embarrass him? They have to have information that says that there are more than one team that's considering drafting Jalen Milroe with their first overall pick or in the first round. I don't know if there's any teams that have multiple first round picks. I'm pretty sure there is, that need a quarterback, but it's been done before. It's not unheard of. So I don't know. Do you feel like the Steelers should draft Jalen Milroe or Jackson Dart in the first round? I don't think they should pick a quarterback in the first round, but I'm excited if they get Jalen Milroe. I just don't know if I want him in the first round. But an athlete like that, if they can get him working with the right quarterback guru, no, there's not. I don't know if there's an athlete like that in next year's draft. This is what I'm saying. I don't think there's an athlete like that in next year's draft. But you never know who can come along. You never know who could come along. The only quarterback that I knew of last year that was going to be in this year's draft was Shedeur Sanders. And I figure he didn't come out last year because he wasn't going to get picked in the first round last year for sure. The quarterback competition was too great, which tells me a lot about him. And all the talking that he does about who he is and things of that nature. I'm not a big Shedeur Sanders fan. I think that he's going to be a good quarterback, but I'm just not a big fan. Anyway, that's my perspective. That's my take. I'm out. Click like and subscribe. Drop a comment in the comment section. And please help out the channel.